Let's take a look at adding persistent stats in a game. In this case, we're going to collect some coins, earn some Doge, and as a result, be able to save whatever Doge that we earned. And when we come back into the game, that will be retrieved from the database. So let's go in and see what's currently going on here. All right, I'm going to turn this down a little bit.
Bring a link. Collect all the coins and buy some bling.
Okay, here we go. So we have these Doge coins in front of me right here. Let me turn this down a little bit more. And what we're going to look at over here is the stats. I've modified the top stat dial over here, ring dial as I call it, and it's recorded as 300 Doge, and those were actually loaded from the database because I collected those earlier. So if I collect, just to illustrate this, and then we'll go through the particulars. If I go collect a, let me bring that down. If I go ahead and collect a coin, it earns me 100 Doge. Now I have 400 Doge. Now, here's the thing. You can decide when you want to save to the database, but it is often best to minimize the writes to the, or even put it that way, any type of communication with the server, but definitely want to minimize the writes to the database. So what I do is I just do the write to the database with an explicit exit call. So if we go to the control panel, I added an exit game button. So it's very explicit right here. If you want to save your coins, you're going to have to click exit game. And so I'm going to click exit game. It's literally it's basically just going to refresh the page. And that's the way it's exiting this game. I'm not getting fancy about anything. But if I, just to show you that it doesn't matter if it was refreshed or if I came in a day later or whatever. So if I go over and go back to that game, and log in this time again. So if I log in, I can go here. Now I have my 400 Doge. I have the 300 from before plus the 100 I got last time. Now if I'll do it one more time just so that you believe me, it works. Okay, so I'll get 400, and I should have 500, should go up to 600, and then I actually got off by one error right there. That was some rounding issue, and then I got up to 701. So if I save this, and I do have to fix a few things with the stat system. As when I'm animating, I often get these off by one errors, and there's a couple other issues that I need to take care of. So that's definitely something that happens, and I'm well aware of it. So I'm going to go over here and click on control panel again and save by exiting the game. I'm going to exit the game. Now if I go back, well, just to show you again that I'll just open up a new tab or even open it from over here and go back in. I should have those 701 Doge, right? So let me see. There I got it, 701 Doge, the same as I left with. So it loads it right back up from the server. And that's important. Oftentimes you want to give the player a sense of accomplishment and progression as they interact with your application. All right, so how do we do this? That's basically what this is all about. So let's go over here. First of all, let's take a look at the database API for the saving of information. So this is actually looking at the GitHub wiki under the database API page. And this is for the CS1 Game Engine wiki. And over here it says on the client side, all you have to do is request to set some data on the server. In this case, we're going to set the value of avatar to Jill in this example. And then you have to pass in a callback function that's going to basically do the handling of whatever the result is from the save to the database. if it was success. If it wasn't successful, you want to do something else. So over here we make a function called a callback function that's going to handle whether we have a success or a fail. And then whenever we want to retrieve data from the database, and this is something I'm going to change actually. I'm handling the fail when I really shouldn't. I should actually pass you the fail, so it's similar to this. Data storage and the data retrieval should be similar in that I pass you an object that has like a message or something. So important for you to understand that a lot of these things need to be adjusted. But for right now, you actually get the value back if it is successful. And then if the get from the server is a fail, you basically, I send you the message on another socket message, which I shouldn't do that. I should keep it all within the same API so that you can do a nice, clean, granular response. And I basically put in an issue over here on the GitHub to remind myself to go ahead and clean that up. All right, so there's definitely things that I have to clean up with this API. But that said, it works fine as it is, but it's just definitely not optimized. All right, so if we go over into the project here, one thing we need to know is that in order to save data from a database, you need to set an allowed database API property. So over here in your secrets for your particular project, you have to set whatever properties you want to be able to set. So if you want to be able to set the amount of Doge, the value for Doge, then you better specify that in this database APIs property. Database API properties. If you have more than one, you want to separate them by spaces. Okay, over here I have an example. If you had like avatar and last score, you'd separate them by space. All right. Otherwise, you won't be able to save data to the database. All right. So that and a few other things are to ensure you're just not going to get spammed, get your database spammed. And there's also kind of ways that the data is being limited in terms of how much data can actually be stored. And obviously, people should have login accounts to your game where they have to go through a fairly rigorous password, not like this. All right. So besides that, you have to specify obviously what you want to save to the database. In this case, Doge. I also had to add in the stats section. So in the source under stats in stats.js, we need to add or change some things. So I changed the what was previously the point style. I literally just changed it to Doge dial, and I changed the label to Doge. That's all I did really. I changed the color to gold to go along with the kind of gold coin, if you will. So I changed what was previously point style to Doge dial, and I changed the label on it to Doge, and I changed the gradient color 2 here to gold. That's all I did for in the stats.js. All right. So that's in the source code under stats, stats.js. Okay. The rest of what I've done could be dealt with in the IDE. So let's go over and take a look at the IDE. In the IDE, we can see a few things that I've done over here. Let's go take a look at the over here in the client side components section. I have a special function that I made, add Dogecoin. I could have added it in the index HTML. I just added it over here in the JavaScript just to show you that you can. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the details of this function. It's pretty self-explanatory if you look at it. It's creating an element, which is a GLTF model. It's setting the source on it and setting the position and rotation and scale, and then it's adding it to the game. And notice I'm actually doing, I'm actually adding that on window load. So I'm not doing it at game start. I'm actually doing it before the game starts. Whenever the window has loaded, I'm adding it. And I'm adding 3 coins. And I'm adding them with these X and Z positions. I set all their Y positions to the same value. Over here under the game start, what I've done is I've basically did a very simple on the game start. I defined an on Doge retrieved function. That's my callback. And then I could actually back this up. And then I call CS1 database db get Doge, and then pass in the on Doge retrieved callback function. And whenever that callback is called, what it does is, as you can see right here, it goes into the stats, the Doge dial, and sets the value to whatever the value is it gets from the database. Actually, I could fix, I just want to save that because it looks better when I remove some of those spaces. All right, so that's basically it for saving the, retrieving the data from the database. Now, how does it get saved? Let's go look at that section now. Actually, let me go over here and go down to the UI. And over here, this is for the controls panel. The control panel. On the control panel, I took away the blaster ball and I added a different button down here called exit game button. And I made up a control function called exit game. So I made an exit game button and I made a controls function called exit game. So if I go over into the controls file where those are at, I can see that over here I added and you can see where I added it right here, controls exit game. So here's the exit game function right here. And what it does is it basically, here's the callback on Doge saved. And then over here it sets the value for Doge based on the dial value and then passes in the callback function. And then I did a little console log that really isn't necessary, but did that. All right. And if we didn't have a successful exit and save, it would have alerted me that the Doge were not saved to the server. All right. So that's pretty much it for saving the Doge at the upon exiting. So let's just go back and review this once and for all and pretty much put this to rest. Okay, so first of all, whenever you're wanting to save some data to the database, you want to add that property or properties, whatever you want to save. I want to save some Doge. I'm going to call it Doge, so I write in whatever I want to call it, the property name. Save, put that into the env file right there. And then I need to, if you're going to be changing the stats to what they already are, because they originally were like points, energy, and magic. So I took the points dial and I changed it to Doge dial, and I changed the label text and the color. So you could have just stuck with points or whatever. But if you wanted to change the stats, it's done in this file here, stats.js. It's in the stats folder, which is in the source code. Source code stats folder, stats.js, and that's where you change that. Okay, and anything in the source code obviously has to be rebuilt after you change it. You have to rebuild the project. All right. So that being said, the other part of this, of course, is to let's go take a look at what it does. All right, so let's just review this again. Go in here, and if we go to the stats, we see I got 701 points. If I go collect over here, now I got 802 points. Again, they're off by one error. Again, I know I have to fix some of these stats. This ring dial in particular, I got to fix that ring dial system. But I'll collect one more. Over here, go up to 902 Doge, and then let's just say I'm going to go ahead and quit. Or actually, if I didn't quit, let's just to show you that I won't have these 902, I won't quit properly. I'll just exit, and then I'll go back, and you see I won't have that 902 anymore. I won't have it. It'll just have the 701 from the last save. So since I didn't run the save by exiting properly, I lost out on that other Doge, right? So that's important to point out, right? So I'm going to go back to the stats. I'll collect one right here. Maybe just go up to 802, and then I'll go ahead and exit, and I'll come back in just to show you that it's in there. Exit the game. There it is. It's exited the game. And then I'm just going to go right back in and show you that I should now have my 802 Doge. So if I go back in here and go over here, there's my 802 Doge. All right. I hope this made sense to you. If it didn't, go ahead and post something in the comments. Reach out. I'm definitely going to be changing some aspects of this dial system so it's accurate and doesn't get finicky. Here's another thing you have to know about this dial system. It's currently set with defaults that if you don't interact with it correctly, you should basically use values that are a minimum of 30 amount for each of the how much you add on to your current value. If you don't use the defaults, you could deal with it. It's just kind of, it's not too intuitive. I need to deal with that. So that's why I set it for like 100 Doge for each one. But that said, if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. I will be getting to the database database success fail issue that I posted before I even get to the stats. So just to let you know kind of like where I'm putting my energies. Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful day.